Do you think babies are born with a set of complex emotions? Hear me out. Besides basic survival instincts like don't die and looking for the nearest boob, do you think a newborn can feel happiness and sadness? Or are those things learned? What is the absolute starting point for human consciousness? If we can deduce what is a standard set of emotions and which are learned, would it make it easier to program consciousness? How do we tackle things that are innately human, such as pain and irrational thinking due to an imbalance in hormones? I've always been fascinated with AI, but I've never known where to start. Maybe machine learning, who knows? I don't. I'm no CS major. I'm just someone who programs for fun. Either way, I gave it the old college try and I've been messing around with the Twitter API and have been working towards a simple conversational AI algorithm, or probably more realistically, a predictive text algorithm using a Markov chain. It's been fun, challenging for sure, and I can't wait to tell you what I've learned. But this is not that. I got stuck on an encoding problem and said, F it. So, welcome to Coding from the Car. My name is Bear, and today I'm going to use Google's text-to-speech API to let Twitter talk to me. Firstly, in the last video I said, the Tweetinvi documentation states clearly that it was designed around .NET Core. And for some of the smarter folks in the audience, they might know that .NET Core does not have audio support. Meaning, I got to test the difference between Tweetinvi with .NET Core and Tweetinvi with .NET Frameworks, which was absolutely nothing. So in this video, we will be using .NET Framework because it makes working with the audio files much easier. Let's begin. Firstly, make sure you are signed up for both Google's API and Twitter's API because I won't be going over the sign-up process. And be aware that Google does make you input credit card information, but you will only be charged if you access a paid-only section of the API or go over the free limits, which I'm cheap, so this video is completely free. Secondly, go watch my last video where I made a photo everyday application up to this timestamp. All the steps are the same, except we are using .NET Framework instead, and it will tell you how to get your authorization information from Twitter. Link in the description or the iCard now. For Twitter to inject as much toxicity in my life as possible, I need all these tweets to be real time. Fortunately, the Twitter API has this feature. So let's add in our Twitter client. Up top, add using Tweetinvi, and then create a Twitter client variable down below and feed the new instance your authorization codes. Next, add another using statement. This time, it's using Tweetinvi.streaming. Then, after the Twitter client variable, create an iFiltered stream variable and set it equal to your Twitter client variable .streams.createFilteredStream. This variable does exactly as it sounds. It creates a filtered stream of tweets, and I'll be referring to this variable as stream from this point on. So now we need a filter. But there is just so much toxic culture on Twitter, I don't know where to start. I could take the easy way out and just have a filtered stream for anything Logan Paul or Donald Trump, but that seems way too easy. This article by Vulture.com ran a poll to decide whose fan base was worse, and out of all 100 or so options, they decided Mr. PewDiePie has the worst fan base. And while I will agree that having a bunch of 12-year-olds talk nonsense to me through my computer sounds absolutely awful, I doubt many in that age group use Twitter, as they're too busy with Fortnite and Call of Duty. Am I old? Instead, I'm going to go for something I absolutely despise. Politics. So we'll just search for any tweet mentioning @Hasan the Hun and we'll be on our way to the loony bin. So all we have to do is call our stream.addTrack and in the parentheses add our search term. After we have our filter, we have to get our tweets. We do so by subscribing to an event. If you have no clue what that means, then just follow along because I'm not exactly Einstein and know just enough about it myself. The event is Stream. info.matching tweet received. And we subscribe to it by using an addition assignment, or in layman's terms, a plus equals. You subscribe to an event by using a function that is formatted the same way. The format is decided by the delegate or event handler and blah 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 blah. It's just the worst and most confusing things for beginners. So don't worry about it. Instead of writing a whole extra function for a one-off, we'll be using a statement lambda instead. A statement lambda works well with events because the format of the function has to match the event, so our code is free to make a lot of accurate assumptions. The first assumption is the event parameters, because our event uses two parameters, one being an object and the other being the event arguments. The subscribing function has to have two parameters as well. The statement lambda assumes we're using an object and event argument parameter, which is true. So I named mine sender and info. In this instance, only info is important. Inside of the curly brackets is where most of our code is going to live because we want the program to react whenever a tweet is published. We can confirm that the Twitter portion of this video is working by console.writelining info.tweet.createdby to see who the author is and info.tweet.text to get the tweet itself. And do yourself a favor and encapsulate all this inside of an if statement. And the condition should be if info.tweet.text.contains inside the parentheses we need in quotations HTTP. This will eliminate all tweets and replies with an image or a GIF. Lastly, for the Twitter portion, after the curly brackets for the statement lambda, we need to add stream.startMatching all conditions async and a console.readline, and we can run the program to see if everything works. Mine works fine. What's important here is to make sure you are happy with the rate of tweets. Too few, and you'll feel like you're waiting for paint to dry. Too many, and suddenly you're in a conversation with Eminem. If you like the topic you chose, but don't like the Eminem speed, you can add more filters by adding more stream.add track lines with more variables. That or add more search terms in your existing filter. So now, to the Google portion of today's video. Any sane person might be like, nah, 2 APIs in one video is too many for my taste. Check please. But for the bold, we go even further beyond. So in your developer dashboard, we need to do a few things. I'll run through these quickly. 1. Create or select a project that you want to use with the text-to-speech API. 2. With the project selected, go to the library and search for text-to-speech. 3. Click the text-to-speech API and note the pricing at the bottom. 4. Think back to when I said Google makes you enter card information, but it is free if you stay within the limits. 5. Think about how smart and handsome Bear is. 6. Enable the API. 7. It will load a new page, and in the right corner, we need to click Create Credentials. 8. In the drop-down, select the text-to-speech API, and then it will reveal the next question. Select No, then hit the big blue button. 9. Create a random name for your service account. Don't think about it too hard, it's not important. Then select the role of Project Owner. 10. Make sure JSON is checked and hit Continue. This will download a JSON file, in which we need to store in the innermost folder of our project. Do yourself a favor and rename this to auth while you are here. And with that, we are done with Google's way too complicated website. Now back in the project, we need to add one more NuGet. This is Google's text-to-speech NuGet. With that installed, go back to the project and add 3 more using statements. The first is using google.cloud.text-to-speech.v1, which gives us access to the Google API. The second is using system.io, which allows us to save the audio files to our computer. And the last is using system.media, which is going to let us play the audio file in our program. And now for the last stretch of code. All the remaining code written will be done inside of the statement lambda after the console write lines. Starting off, we need to create a string for our program to read to us. Mine was the author of the tweet, then the word tweeted, then the tweet text. Easy enough. This next step was something new for me. Google's API looks through the application environment to find the JSON file that was automatically downloaded earlier, instead of just being fed the authorization information like the Twitter API, or fed the location of the JSON file. Either way, this is solved with one line of code, and that is environment.setEnvironmentVariable. And inside the parentheses, we put in quotations Google_application_credentials, then a comma, then an @sign, and in quotations we put the name of our JSON file. In my case, it was auth.json. Next, we need to create our text-to-speech client with text-to-speech client.create. Then, we need to reformat our text for Google with synthesis input, and on instantiate we can set the class member of text to the string we created earlier. After that, we set up the voice parameters, and upon instantiate on this one, we set the language code to English and the SSML gender to our preferred voice. Next, we configure our audio with audio config, and we set the class member audio encoding to audioencoding.linear16 because it will output a WAV file which is necessary to be used with our sound player.
I forgot to record audio for the next section. So, I'm going to use Google's text-to-speech to narrate. Next, we need to feed the text, voice selection parameters, and audio configuration variables into the text-to-speech client using the synthesize speech function and change the input, voice, and audio config class members to the corresponding variables. This function returns a synthesize speech response variable that contains our audio file. This concludes the forgotten audio.
Then, we create a WAV file using this line of code here. And lastly, we play our sound file with the sound player class, and we call the play function on our sound player variable. And that's it. Here's a look at the entire code. And now we can run our program.
Bread 157 tweeted at Stupor Lucid at Hasan the Hun Lord of the Rings. Blue Spacey tweeted at Metroid FN at Asmongold at Hasan the Hun OK, but who would want to see that? Fat_solutions tweeted RT at the Surfs TV, at Hasan the Hun Celeste everything.
Lastly, I'm going to use a few DLL imports to hide the application, so it is always running in the background.
Rabius tweeted at Hasan the Hun please play it. Koopsiao tweeted RT at Asmongold, at Hasan the Hun you can tell politics is bad when you go over to play Dark Souls to relax.
Thank you for watching. If you have any questions for me, leave them down below. This was a fun one and I did a bunch of research, so ask away. Subscribe below so I don't have to be a closet YouTuber no more. And tickle the like button if you fancy. Okay, bye.